Hello, welcome to my channel, Another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I am here with week 16 update for my 100 book challenge, where I have to read 100 books that I already own before I can buy another book. And I am very, very close to the end. I am at book 96 as of Sunday morning. So, what have I been reading? I have, of course, been reading War and Peace for the 101 book club run by Ms. Reads a Lot. And I am on page 756. So I've still got 600 pages to go before the end of this book. I had originally sort of wanted my 100th book to be War and Peace, but it does not look like that's going to happen. I'm going to need to read some other books, and this book will be finished around March 26th, and I will have finished my 4 books before then. So unfortunately, War and Peace is out and is being counted for on my 100 book challenge. Too bad. It would have been nice to finish on a mammoth, but that's just not going to happen. So, I've been doing shorts of all the books that I've been reading all this week, so it's not going to be a big surprise what I have been reading. But The Hound of the Baskervilles for March Mystery Madness, and this is my second of the Doyle books. I read Studying Scarlet last week, and I do prefer The Hound of the Baskervilles. This has such a great premise with the gigantic hound stalking the moors. It is just, read it if you haven't read it. It is the best of the Holmes novels. After that, I read The Dream Life of Balzo, Snell by Nathaniel West. Now, I mentioned in my short little video that this is one of the weirdest books that I have ever read. The premise of this book is that the character Balzo Snell is wandering around Troy and comes across the Trojan horse. And he tries to enter the Trojan horse. He cannot reach the mouth, the belly button is too small, so he enters the Trojan horse through its anus. And inside the Trojan horse are a bunch of frustrated writers looking for an audience. And it's just basically what these authors say to Balzo Snell. It's that strange. It ends with one woman who has committed suicide because she was pregnant and couldn't get an abortion. Quite progressive for the time that was written. That brings me up to read, I think I've read everything except Miss Lonely Hearts for Nathaniel West. He is an interesting author, and I will have to complete that. So, very strange, entering the Trojan horse through its anus and talking to frustrated writers. Really strange. After that, I listened to an audiobook, and that was the audiobook of Demian by Hermann Hesse. This is a story of a young boy when he is 10, and he's bragging to his friends how he went into an apple orchard and stole a whole bunch of apples. And he's talking to another boy, and the boy says, "Is that a true story?" And no, it wasn't a true story, but the character, Emile St. Clair, swore by God that it was a true story. So the other boy comes up and he tells him, "I know the owner of that apple orchard, and he knows that people have been stealing apples, and he has offered 2 marks for the identity of the thief." So that boy is bribing poor Emile to reveal, or not to reveal they stole the apples that he didn't steal. And then he meets a boy named Damien who settles that issue, and Damien sort of becomes a guru to Emile, and it's all about growing up, learning about esoteric philosophies, esoteric religions. I wish I had read this book in my early teens or or late teens, early 20s. I think it would have made a much more profound impression on me when I was that young. As a much older man, it's still very interesting, but it is a book that young people should read everywhere. After Damien, I read a play by Thomas Bernhard. And Thomas Bernhard is known for writing huge ranting monologues with one character just spewing out ideas. And the premise of this play is that there was once a famous actor who got barred from a city, I don't remember the city in Germany, but he started to despise the classics, except for King Lear. And because of that, he was run out on the rails from his acting job and his town. And now, after 30 years, he has gotten a phone call or a telegram from a director saying, I want you to play Lear again. And in these 30 years, he has been reciting Lear every day, or not every day, every month on the 13th of the month. He recites the entire play of Lear to keep himself in form. So he arrives in this very rundown inn. It is snowing very heavy. And he's waiting for the artistic director to show up. But he's lost his telegram. No, he can't prove that he's supposed to be there. And it's all about how an actor who hasn't acted in 30 years is going to act King Lear. And this is all done on the stage. It's pure Thomas Bernhard. After that, I listened to an audiobook, and that was the audiobook of The Quiet American by Greene. This is the story of a British journalist in Vietnam during the early 50s. He tries very hard to stay out of politics and be a very impartial journalist. And then there comes an American, Pyle. And Pyle falls in love with the journalist Vietnamese woman. And there's a lot of incidents going back and forth. This is really a fascinating little book. There is a murder mystery in this because you find out very close to the beginning that Pyle has been murdered. And a lot of the book investigates how he got murdered and who murdered him. And it does examine what life was like in Vietnam when the French were still in charge and the Americans were just beginning to creep into Vietnam. I quite enjoyed it. After that, I tried to read this book, The Jewels of Apter by Samuel R. Delany. I read the first 40 pages and I was quite enjoying this book and I was looking forward to reading more of this book. However, this is a very old paperback and I don't think you can see it very well, but the print on the left side, especially in the beginning, runs into the binding. So you can only read half of the last word on the line on the left-hand side. I could usually figure out what word it was supposed to be, but I found it's just extremely frustrating to read this. So what I did is I went out on the internet and they have ebook copies. And I said, well, if I already own the book, there's no problem just getting a replacement copy as ebook. I downloaded the sample and the formatting on that sample was just atrocious. No one bothered to try to format the paragraphs in any way, shape, or form. So if you ended a paragraph, it just went down to the next line, no indentation. Yeah, technically I could have read it, but it was just annoying, and I hate poorly formatted ebooks. So this is technically a did not finish, but it's a book I did want to finish. And the last book that I read was All We Need of Hell by Harry Crews. I believe Steve Donahue would call this a dude bro book because he's just the main character, Duffy Dieter, is a misogynist. In the very beginning, he likes Hitler. And he is has a mistress, and he has a wife, and he has a son, and they're supposed to go on this big Winnebago vacation, but this whole thing explodes with his wife. She's having an affair with his law partner. It's just bizarre men behaving badly. And if you think Florida is screwed up nowadays, according to Harry Crews, it was just as screwed up back in the 80s when this book was written. It's 162 pages long, and it's very easy to read. It just flows through. I read it basically in the evenings after reading my quota of War and Peace, and it took me 2 days. I kind of liked it. It's no way a great book, but Harry Crews is a fascinating author. So now it brings me down to my final books that I am reading. One book that I know I'm reading is, of course, I, the Jury by Mickey Spillane. Mickey Spillane was the hands-down winner for my second of the March Mystery Madness 2x2. Doyle is done, and now I'm into the first book of Mike Hammer. And, excuse me, I'm quite enjoying it. It's middle 1940s New York City. And Mike Hammer is one tough private detective. So now that would bring me to book 97. I'm listening to Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell as an audiobook. I will be done with that Wednesday or Thursday. That brings me to book 98. So only 2 more books to go. And I'm going to try to sprint to the end this week and finish up this 100 book challenge. And the 2 books that I have tentatively in mind are A Martian Time Slip by Philip K. Dick, because that book was written in 1964. And I made a promise on the birth year tag to read a book written in 1964 before August, or do the 100 book challenge again. I'm not doing the 100 book challenge again. I'm finishing up this week. So Martian Time Slip 98. That'd be book 99. For book 100, I think I am going to reread one of my favorite novels written by a woman, and that will be Geek Love by Catherine Dunn. It's a little bit of a stretch to read those 2 books by the end of this week, and keeping up with War and Peace. I might have to let War and Peace slide a little behind to finish my 100 book challenge this week. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.